If a book can change the way you see the world, this is where you'll find it. I'm Karo Chen. Let's explore together the books that truly shape our destinies. Today, the book we're reading is a bit different. When that payday notification pops up on your phone, have you ever had this moment? You stare at the numbers for 2 seconds, take a deep breath of relief, and then feel that invisible anxiety start to squeeze your chest again? Rent, car payments, your kids' extracurriculars, your parents' medical checkups. Your finger starts tracing through each bill one by one. Your salary just landed, but it slips away like sand in an hourglass, gone before you even get to enjoy it. You work harder than anyone you know, stay late at the office, budget down to the last cent, and squeeze saving into every corner of your life. Yet somehow, while others are buying new cars or a second apartment, you're still bouncing between just enough and never quite enough. The author of this book, Harv Eker, used to be just like you and me, trapped in that same cycle where the harder you try, the more lost you feel. He tried all kinds of businesses, from selling groceries to running small shops, and every time he thought, this time for sure, but each time he ended up right back in his parents' basement. He once joked that it felt like having the Loch Ness Monster disease. You've heard people talk about making money, but you never actually see it. Then came the poker night that changed his life. One of his father's rich friends, sitting there with his luxury car parked outside, looked at Harv and said something that hit hard. You're not lacking potential. You just have all the wrong ideas about money. Back then, Harv didn't understand that the real gap between people isn't about how hard you work. It's about your money blueprint. Think of it like your air conditioner at home. No matter how hot it gets outside, it always pulls the temperature back to the setting you chose. In the same way, deep in your subconscious, there's already a hidden thermostat that decides how much money you believe you deserve. Some people set it at just enough to get by, so their income always seems to match their bills. Others set it at millionaire mode, and somehow, they always find opportunities, even in a crisis. Harv was the one who went down into that basement of his mind and slowly turned his setting from poverty to multi-millionaire mode. This book isn't about staying up all night doing side hustles or gambling your savings on risky stocks. It's about finding that hidden wealth setting inside your subconscious. Because once you start thinking the way rich people think, you'll realize the rules of making money aren't what you thought they were. We always think making money depends on ability, luck, or hard work. But in reality, people in the same industry can end up in completely different places. Some thrive, while others lose everything. People earning the same salary. Some manage to save and buy a home, while others are broke by the end of every month. The real difference behind all that is something called your wealth blueprint. Harv gives a classic example in his book. Studies show that about 70% of lottery winners end up right back where they were financially within just a few years. Why? Because their wealth blueprint never changed. Deep down, they still believe they're meant to live an ordinary life. So even when they suddenly get a fortune, they'll find ways to lose it through overspending, bad investments, or self-sabotage. On the flip side, look at self-made millionaires. Even if they go bankrupt, they bounce back fast. Take Donald Trump, for example. He was once $900 million in debt, yet just a few years later, he was back on the rich list. Harv says that's because their wealth blueprint is set at billionaire mode. Even if they lose the money, that wealthy mindset stays intact, and sooner or later, they make it back again. That's the real truth about wealth. The money you see on the outside is just a printout of what's inside. It's like a tree. The branches, leaves, and fruit you see above ground all come from the roots you can't see below. If you want to change the fruit, you've got to fix the roots first. So, if your wealth blueprint is that powerful, where does it come from? Harv's answer hits hard. For most people, their wealth blueprint was already written in childhood. It's like the operating system of a computer. Before you even learned how to think, your system got pre-installed with certain programs. Those programs come from 3 main sources. The first one is verbal programming, the things you heard about money when you were a kid. What did your parents, relatives, or teachers say about money. Because one casual sentence can become a lifelong financial curse. Phrases like, "Money is the root of all evil." "Rich people are greedy." "Our family never keeps money." When Harv was little and asked his dad for money, his father would always snap, "Do I look like I'm made of money?" That line stuck like a thorn. For years, it made him feel that making money was hard, even shameful. Those words might seem harmless, but they sneak deep into your subconscious and become your automatic reactions to money. It's why some people hear the word investment and instantly think, "I'll lose money." Or when they hear price increase, their first thought is, "I can't afford it." All those reactions come from the things you heard as a child, still whispering in your head today. The second source is modeling. How did the adults around you handle money when you were a kid? Children are natural imitators. If your parents constantly fought about money, you might have learned that money equals pain. If they saved every penny and said, "We're only doing this for you," you might believe that making money means sacrifice. If they always complained about being broke but refused to try anything new, you might think poverty is fate, and there's no way to change it. Harv's father was a construction contractor. Every time he started a new project, he had to borrow a ton of money. So the family lived like they were on a roller coaster. Half the year broke, half the year spending big. When Harv grew up, he realized he was repeating the exact same pattern in his own business. Big ups, big downs, over and over again. That's the power of modeling. You become the kind of money user you grew up watching, even if you hated the way they did it. The third source is specific incidents. What emotional experiences around money did you have as a child? Maybe you lost something you loved because you couldn't afford it. Maybe you watched your parents collapse under debt. Or maybe you were humiliated by classmates for being poor. Those powerful emotional moments can brand your subconscious with beliefs like money equals pain or money equals shame. In the book, Harv tells the story of Josie, a nurse with a great income, yet she could never save a dime. Eventually, she remembered that when she was 11, her parents had a huge fight about money, and her father had a heart attack and died in her arms. From that day on, deep down, she believed money equals death. So every time she made more, she'd unconsciously get rid of it, just to escape the pain. So in short, verbal programming, modeling, and specific incidents. These three programming tools together created your wealth blueprint. And the scary part? Most of us don't even know it's running. We go through life like programmed robots, repeating the same money habits day after day. But here's the good news. Your blueprint isn't permanent. It's not fixed at birth. Just like you can reinstall your computer system, you can rewrite your wealth blueprint. Harv gives us a 4-step method, and each step holds a key to breaking through. Step 1. Awareness. Bring your hidden programs into the sunlight. You have to first know what faulty programs you're running. Take out a piece of paper and write them down. Don't underestimate this simple act. When you turn a vague feeling into clear words, you've already taken the first step toward change. Like Harv says, you can't fix a program you can't see. These words might include what you heard about money as a child. Things like, making money depends on luck, or your parents' money habits. Maybe your dad never invested, your mom always chased discounts. Or maybe memories tied to money. Like the time you couldn't go to a summer camp you really wanted because there wasn't enough money. Step 2. Understanding. See how those programs are actually running your life. Ask yourself, are these past experiences still affecting me today? The key to understanding is finding the link between your past and your present. Like some people realize they avoid making big money because their mom used to say, "Rich people always get taken advantage of." It's not that you lack ability, it's that you fear being targeted, so you unconsciously push wealth away. Maybe you heard, "Rich people are bad," so after a promotion you feel guilty for no reason. Maybe your parents said, "A penny saved is a penny earned," so even when spending money could improve your life, you can't bring yourself to do it. Or maybe you were teased for being poor, so now you'd rather fake wealth than admit you need money. Step 3. Separation. Tell yourself, this is not my fault. Many people get stuck in self-blame, thinking, I'm just bad with money. This is who I am. But the truth is, your money habits are just secondhand programs you picked up as a kid. They're not your essence. You can tell yourself, my dad always said making money is hard. But that was his experience, not mine. I couldn't afford toys when I was little. But that was just the environment then. It doesn't mean I'll never deserve good things. Drawing that line isn't about blaming the past. It's about acknowledging that you have the right to live differently. Step 4. Reprogramming. Use affirmations to rewrite your subconscious. The final step is to feed your subconscious a new program. The author suggests using declarations. Speak your new beliefs out loud, with emotion. Add a physical gesture like placing your hand over your heart or touching your forehead. It helps your subconscious absorb it faster. Don't think it's silly. Words carry power. When you repeat them, you're slowly replacing the old poverty code in your mind. Harv did exactly this himself. He used to stand in front of a mirror and shout, I am a rich person. At first he felt embarrassed and awkward, but over time, that turned into confidence and conviction. That process shifted him from a basement mindset to a millionaire mindset. The key to rewriting your financial blueprint isn't thinking, it's doing. It's like knowing exercise helps you lose weight. But your body only changes when you actually put on your shoes and run. The same goes for your wealth blueprint. You have to consciously fight your old programs and practice new ones with every money decision. Before, you'd see a discount and rush to buy. Now you ask, do I really need this, or do I just want to save money? Before, you feared investing. Now you ask, what's the logic behind this opportunity? Can I handle the worst outcome? Before, you'd say, I don't have money. Now you say, I'm figuring out how to make money. These tiny shifts may seem small, but like drops of water wearing down stone, they gradually reshape your wealth blueprint. And that's exactly the heart of part 2. When you start making choices with a rich person's mindset, your actions begin to change, and so do your results. Because in this mental game of wealth, your real opponent isn't the market or luck. It's your old self, the one hiding deep in your subconscious. Defeat that version of you, and you'll unlock the door to real wealth. If your wealth blueprint is like the operating system hidden deep in your subconscious, then your wealth files are the core programs running inside that system. By studying thousands of rich and poor people, the author discovered 17 sets of completely different thought and behavior patterns. They might look simple, but they're like a watershed separating two entirely different lives. Wealth file number 1. Rich people believe I create my life. Poor people believe life happens to me. Have you ever met someone like this? They lose their job and blame the company. They're broke and blame their boss for being stingy. They lose money on an investment and blame the market. It's like their entire life is being controlled by the outside world. That's the classic poor mindset, playing the victim. They escape responsibility through the trio of blame, justification, and complaining. Harv has seen tons of people like this in his seminars. One student, nearly 40, had changed over a dozen jobs. Every time she quit, she had a list of excuses. My coworkers are difficult. My boss has no vision. The industry's declining. But she never stopped to ask, why do I always meet difficult coworkers? Why do the short-sighted bosses always seem to pick on me? Rich people think the exact opposite. They see themselves as the driver of their life, not the passenger. Even when they hit a setback, they ask, what can I do better next time? The key difference is this. Poor people spend their energy explaining failure, while rich people spend their energy solving problems. Wealth file number 2. Rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play the money game not to lose. If you ask a poor person what their goal is, they'll say things like, as long as I have enough to get by. I just don't want to lose money. Being able to pay my mortgage on time is good enough. But rich people will say, I want to make 10 million. I want passive income that covers all my expenses. I want my family to never worry about money again. The author says the difference between those two mindsets is like the difference between an athlete who just wants to avoid falling and one who's training to win Olympic gold. The first one stays where they are. The second one breaks through limits. Poor people aim to avoid risk. That's why they choose stable jobs with fixed paychecks. They're afraid to invest, even afraid to get promoted, because that means taking on more responsibility. It's like someone who could start a business but tells themselves, "I'm fine being comfortable," or someone who could switch jobs for a raise, but worries the new position might not be stable. Rich people aim to win. That's why they're willing to take risks for higher rewards. When Harv opened his first fitness equipment store, he used his credit card to borrow $2,000. Someone told him, "Play it safe." He replied, "I don't want safe, I want success." The core difference is this: poor people are driven by fear, afraid of losing. Rich people are driven by desire, the hunger to gain. Wealth file number 3. Rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people just want to be rich. Everyone says, "I want to be rich." But truly wealthy people say, "I'm committed to being rich." The difference between wanting and being committed is like the difference between wanting to lose weight and actually getting up at 6 every morning to run. The first is a wish, the second is action. When Harv was young, he tried over a dozen businesses. Each time he shouted, "I want to be rich," but gave up whenever things got hard, until he realized that success needs obsession-level commitment. Poor people are always looking for the easy way to get rich, dreaming about winning the lottery, hoping to strike it big overnight, learning every "make money while you sleep" trick, but never actually doing anything. Their logic is, once I find the right opportunity, I'll make it. Rich people believe opportunities are created, not found. They're willing to work 16 hours a day, give up their free time, and keep pushing even when they can't see results. When Harv ran his store, he didn't take a single day off for 2 years. Someone asked him, "Was it worth it?" He said, "It's not about the result. It's knowing I fought for the life I want." The key difference? Poor people drain energy by thinking. Rich people build energy by doing. Wealth file. Mer 4. Rich people think big. Poor people think small. If you ask, how many people do you want to help in your life? A poor person might say, as long as my family's okay, that's enough. A rich person might say, I want to help 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people. The author says this isn't about ambition. It's about scale. How much money you make depends on how many people you help. Doctors make more than nurses because they help more people. Franchise owners make more than shop owners because they serve more customers. Poor people always limit themselves, saying, I'm not capable of helping that many people. What if I fail? They're satisfied with running one small shop or keeping one job, never realizing that you can't raise big fish in a small pond. Rich people play big. When Harv opened his very first fitness store, he already planned to open 100 more. When Jack Ma founded Alibaba, he declared, we want to make it easy to do business anywhere. Their goal wasn't just to make some money, it was to solve a big problem. Here's the core difference. Poor people are trapped by fear, afraid to fail. Rich people are driven by purpose. They want to make a meaningful contribution through wealth. Wealth file. 5. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. 2 salesmen went to Africa to sell shoes. When they saw that nobody wore shoes, the first one said, nobody wears shoes here, we won't sell a thing. The second one said, nobody wears shoes here. What a huge market. That's the difference. Poor people see barriers. Rich people see possibilities. Poor people have a defensive mindset. Before starting a business, they ask, what if I lose money? Before investing, they calculate every risk. Even when opportunity comes, they say, I don't have the experience or I don't have the resources. Their whole life is like walking through a minefield, always trying to avoid danger. Rich people, on the other hand, have an offensive mindset. They know every opportunity carries risk, but they believe there's always more solutions than problems. When the author opened his first fitness equipment store, he didn't have money for rent, so he worked out a profit-sharing deal with the landlord. When he had no customers, he went door to door handing out flyers. He said, If you want to make things happen, you can't wait until everything's perfect, because that day will never come. The key difference is, poor people protect themselves with excuses, while rich people push themselves with solutions. Wealth file, Sarner 6. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent them. Have you met people like this? When someone buys a luxury car, they say, "He must have taken a loan." When someone succeeds in business, they say, "Just luck." That's the poor person's sour grapes mentality, putting others down to feel better about themselves. The author used to be that way too. When he saw someone driving a fancy car, he'd mutter, "Show off." When he heard about someone making big money, he thought, "That can't be clean." Until one day he realized, you can't become what you hate. If you hate selfish people, you'll never become one. If you hate wealth, your subconscious will push it away. Rich people, however, look up to excellence. When they see someone succeed, they ask, "What did he do right?" When they meet someone wealthier, they ask, "Can you give me some advice?" The author earned his first bucket of gold by asking a rich man directly, "How did you make your first fortune?" The key difference: poor people block opportunity with resentment. Rich people attract opportunity through admiration. Wealth file. 7. Rich people associate with positive and successful people. Poor people hang around negative or unsuccessful ones. Birds of a feather flock together, and nowhere is that truer than in the world of wealth. The author found that most people's income stays within 20% of their close friends' average income. Poor people love being around others who think like them, complaining about bosses, criticizing society, mocking those who work hard. Their logic is, everyone's like this. But negativity is contagious. Just like eating with overweight friends makes you eat more, spending time with complainers makes you negative too. Rich people, on the other hand, network upward. They know if you want to become someone different, you have to surround yourself with people who already are. When the author first started his business, he couldn't afford elite clubs, so he'd sit in upscale restaurants, not to spend money, but to observe how wealthy people spoke and thought. When he finally made money, the first thing he did was join an entrepreneur network because people there talked about how to make 10 million, not where to find cheap food. The key difference: poor people seek comfort in fitting in, while rich people seek growth by choosing their circle. Wealth file number 8. Rich people are happy to promote themselves and their values. Poor people see marketing and self-promotion as something bad. To many people, selling sounds like manipulating or flattering, and poor people especially hate it. They say, "I rely on my skills. Why should I promote myself?" But the truth is, if you don't promote yourself, your value stays hidden. The author met many talented, yet broke people. A designer who was incredibly skilled but never showcased his work. His clients all went to those who were better at talking. A lecturer with amazing courses who was too shy to market ended up living paycheck to paycheck. Their problem wasn't lack of value. It was that no one knew their value. Rich people understand that promotion isn't bragging. It's helping the people who need you find you. Just like a doctor promotes his specialty, or a writer promotes her books. If you don't tell people what you offer, how will they ever know? When the author launched his training programs, he would actively share his ideas on radio and in newspapers. Some said he was too commercial. He replied, "If my course can help people build wealth, then not promoting it would be irresponsible." The key difference: poor people hide insecurity behind pride. Rich people share value through promotion. Wealth file number 9. Rich people are bigger than their problems. Poor people are smaller than their problems. "I can't handle this. It's too big." Sounds familiar, right? When poor people face challenges, they always feel the problem is bigger than they are, so they avoid, delay, or give up. The author once had a student who wanted to open a coffee shop, but for 5 years, he did nothing because he couldn't find the perfect location, was afraid of competition, and worried about lack of experience. All of those issues were solvable. He could take time finding a location, differentiate from competitors, and learn the skills. But he was already defeated by the size of the problem. Rich people believe they're bigger than their problems. When they face difficulties, they ask, "How can I solve this?" instead of, "Can I solve this?" After the author's first business failed, he didn't let debt crush him. Instead, he worked to pay it off and learned from his mistakes. Here's the key difference. Poor people let problems define them, while rich people use problems to grow. Wealth File 10. Rich people are great receivers. Poor people are poor receivers. Have you ever had this happen? Someone gives you a gift, and you refuse it again and again. Someone compliments you, and you rush to deny it. You even find money on the ground and think, "This can't be mine." That's what we call the poor person's receiving block. Deep down, they feel unworthy. When the author's wife was little, she asked her mom for pocket money. Her mom would always say, "Ask your dad. He's the one with money." Over time, that message sank into her subconscious. Women shouldn't have money. Even after she got married, whenever her husband gave her money, she would unconsciously spend it all, as if being broke felt more normal. Rich people, on the other hand, know how to receive gracefully. They believe they deserve good things. When someone gives them a gift, they say, "Thank you, I really appreciate it." When someone praises them, they say, "Thanks, I worked hard for that." When a money-making opportunity shows up, they say, "I deserve this." The key difference: poor people reject to protect their pride, while rich people accept to open the channel. Wealthy File 11. Rich people choose to get paid based on results. Poor people choose to get paid based on time. Do you earn money by the hour or by results? Poor people usually say, "I make $8,000 a month no matter how much I do." Rich people say, "If I help the company make $1 million, I get 10%. When you trade time for money, your income has a ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. When you trade results for money, your income can be unlimited. The more value you create, the more you earn. When the author first started working, he did odd jobs and got paid by the hour. But he soon realized he'd never make real money that way. So he switched to project-based pay, closing a deal for his boss and earning a fixed percentage of the profit. Poor people fear result-based pay because they crave security. Rich people love it because they believe their value goes far beyond a set wage. It's like the programmer who quit his $20,000 a month job to work on commission per project. He made nothing for the first 3 months, but in the 4th month he landed one big deal and earned $200,000 at once. The key difference: poor people trade stability for mediocrity. Rich people trade risk for opportunity. Wealth File 12. Rich people think, "How can I have both?" Poor people think, "Which one should I choose?" Do you want to make money or spend time with your family? Do you want to do what you love or make big money? Poor people treat life like a multiple-choice test. Pick one and lose the other. They believe you can't have your cake and eat it too. Harv himself once fell into that trap. "If I start a business, I'll have no time for family. If I spend time with family, I won't make money." But later he realized, it's not a question of choice, but of creativity. For example, he set aside 3 fixed days a week for family and used the rest for focused work. No income lost, no relationships hurt. Rich people believe in having both. They reject the either suffer or stay poor mindset. Instead, they ask, "How can I be both relaxed and wealthy?" Some people do the creative work they love while earning passive income through online courses. Some raise their kids and still reach financial freedom by working remotely. The key difference: poor people are trapped by limited thinking, while rich people break through with creative thinking. Wealth File 13. Rich people focus on their net worth. Poor people focus on their working income. How much do you make a month? That's what poor people care about. What's your net worth? That's what rich people ask. Income is the cash flowing in each month. Net worth is your total assets, savings, property, investments, minus your debts. Income is the stream. Net worth is the reservoir. And it's the reservoir, not the stream, that determines how wealthy you truly are. Poor people are always chasing pay raises. They get excited over a $500 raise or feel satisfied switching to a job that pays $2,000 more. What they don't realize is, if you only know how to make money but not manage it, No amount will ever be enough. That's why some people earn $50,000 a month and still live paycheck to paycheck, while others earn $10,000 and buy a house through smart investing. Rich people focus on building net worth, not just income. They do 4 things: increase income, save consistently, invest wisely, and control expenses. No matter how much the author earned, he always saved 10% for investment, 20% for improving life, and lived on the rest. That's how he went from broke to millionaire. The key difference: poor people measure wealth by income, rich people measure it by net worth. Wealth file 14. Rich people are great at managing their money, while poor people are great at losing theirs. Where does your money go every month? A poor person might say, "I don't know, somehow it's just gone." A rich person might say, "I save 30%, invest 20% in learning, and use 50% for living expenses." Managing money isn't being stingy, it's making money work for you. Poor people either spend recklessly, buying whatever they see, or they're afraid to spend a single cent. Both extremes make money spin out of control. Rich people, on the other hand, have a system for managing money. The author suggests dividing your income into 6 accounts. 10% for financial freedom. Invest it to create passive income. 10% for fun. You must spend it every month to reward yourself. 10% for long-term savings, for big purchases like a house or a car. 10% for education, to invest in your growth. 50% for necessities, rent, food, bills, etc. And 10% for giving, to help others. The magic of this system is that it gives you both the motivation to save and the confidence to spend. The key difference here is, poor people let money control them, while rich people make money obey them. Wealth file Tharkar 15. Rich people make money work hard for them, while poor people work hard for money. Are you working for money, or is your money working for you? Poor people say, "If I don't work, I have no income." Rich people say, "My rent, stocks, and dividends cover my living costs." If you rely only on work to earn money, you'll always be a slave to it. But when you earn through passive income, you become the master of your money. Passive income includes rent, interest, royalties, and business profits. Money that flows in even while you sleep. Poor people often say, "I don't have time to create passive income," not realizing that the earlier you start, the easier it gets. At 25, the author started buying small rental apartments. Back then, the rent was just a few $100s a month, but 10 years later, it became tens of thousands. That's the magic of money making more money. Rich people treat building passive income as their main goal. They know that working is just a way to earn their first pot of gold, and that money is meant to buy assets that generate more income. Like someone who works hard for 5 years, saves up, buys 3 rental properties, and then lives comfortably off the rent. That's the secret to early retirement. The key difference here is, poor people trade time for money, while rich people trade money for time. Wealth file number 16. Rich people take action even when they're scared. Poor people let fear stop them. Have you ever missed a great opportunity because you were afraid? Almost everyone has. The difference is, poor people get trapped by fear, while rich people act with fear. Poor people think, "I'll do it when I'm not scared anymore." But fear is like a shadow. The more you run, the more it follows. Some people want to confess their feelings, but fear rejection, only to watch the one they like walk away with someone else. Others want to start a business but fear failure, only to see others make a fortune with the same idea. Rich people think differently. They act despite the fear. They know fear never disappears, but taking action makes you stronger. When the author gave his first public speech, his legs were shaking, but he forced himself to finish. Later, he became a famous speaker. He said, "Real courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing it even when you're afraid." The key difference here is, poor people trade comfort for mediocrity, while rich people trade discomfort for growth. Wealth file number 17. Rich people keep learning and growing, while poor people think they already know everything. What's the last new thing you learned? A poor person might say, "I know it all, no need to learn." A rich person might say, "I just learned a new investing trick. Super useful." The author says the three most dangerous words are, "I know that." Poor people try to solve new problems with old knowledge, like using an old map to find a new road. They're bound to get lost. Rich people understand that the world is constantly changing, and if you stop learning, you'll fall behind. They spend tons of time reading, taking courses, and seeking mentors. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day. Bill Gates shares his book list every year. Harv Eker himself reads 10 books a month. The key difference here is, poor people define themselves by the past, while rich people update themselves through learning. These 17 wealth files aren't just motivational fluff, they're a practical manual. Their purpose isn't to make you pretend to be rich, but to help you think and act like one. As the author says, you don't need to be born wealthy or gifted. All you need is to reprogram your financial mindset, and that alone can rewrite your life. The only question is, do you dare to hit that reset button? Once, the author was asked in a speech, if you could leave just one sentence for the world for the rest of your life, what would it be? His answer was, true wealth depends on how much you can give. This sentence reveals the ultimate meaning of wealth. We've spent so much time talking about mindset, actions, and wealth principles. Ultimately, it's not to make you a millionaire hoarding money, but to turn you into someone strong enough to master money. It's like mountain climbing. The view from the top is certainly charming, but what's more precious is the muscle you build, the resilience you develop, and the world you see along the way. Have you noticed? Truly wealthy people rarely talk about money itself. They'll say things like, "This project can help a lot of people. What did I learn from this failure?" Or, "I want everyone on my team to live a good life." Because they understand that wealth is just a byproduct of becoming a better person. When you stop complaining about the outside world and start taking responsibility actively, you gain not just wealth, but also the confidence to take control of your life. When you stop fearing failure and start embracing challenges, you gain not just opportunities, but also the courage to break through difficulties and grow. When you stop obsessing over gains and losses and start knowing how to give, you gain not just connections, but also the happiness of being needed. This invisible growth is a more solid asset than the numbers in your bank account. The author mentions a detail in his book. When he went bankrupt early in life, the most painful thing wasn't having no money. It was feeling like a failure. Later, when he made a comeback, the happiest thing wasn't earning back the money. It was realizing, turns out I have the strength to get back up when I'm down. That's the truth about wealth. It's like a mirror. It shows you who you really are, and it pushes you to become who you're capable of being. Some people say money changes a person, but that's not true. Money doesn't change people. It only amplifies who they already are. If you're inherently selfish, money will make you more selfish. If you're inherently kind, money will give you the ability to be even kinder. Those who use their wealth for charity don't become good because they have money. They already had the instinct to give, and wealth just gave them a bigger stage. So don't focus only on how much money you can make. Instead, ask yourself more often, what kind of person have I become in my pursuit of wealth? Are you more patient now, no longer expecting to get rich overnight, and understanding that slow and steady wins the race? Are you more empathetic now, realizing that the essence of making money is solving others' problems, instead of only focusing on your own interests? Are you braver now, daring to take that step even when you're still scared? Because you know, growth always happens outside your comfort zone. These changes are the best gift wealth can give you. Finally, I want to say to you, rewriting your wealth blueprint isn't about turning you into someone else. It's about helping you reclaim the strong self you've always been. You don't have to copy anyone, and you don't have to pretend to be rich. All you need is to adjust your mindset a little bit and break free from old habits time and time again. Eventually, you'll realize that the wealthy mindset you admire has always been in your bones. It's just been covered up by past prejudices. As Harvey said, anyone can achieve financial success. But more important than financial success is finally believing that you deserve all of it. When you no longer feel anxious about money, when you have the ability to protect the people you care about, and when you can use your wealth to add a little light to the world, you'll understand. True wealth has never been about how much you have, it's about how much you've grown into a better person. That's the ultimate meaning of wealth for you. Finally, congratulations on finishing another book.